Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello,
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Well, we don't have the good-looking tobacco.
That's the next subject.
All right. We have a quorum, so it's 7 o'clock. I will call this meeting to order, and we can stand for the pledge.
Oh, yeah.
Get right into it. I pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any added agenda items?
Yes.
Nope.
All right, Ruth.
Yes. We have two. One is, I think, under new business for an as of right determination. And that is for Philip Grant, and Don Grant is here to represent.
Okay,
And then I wanted to put under agent review a discussion of the 163 Rye Street.
okay.
Those are the two.
I'll make a motion to add item 9.
New business 3.
Yeah, new business 3, as of right determination by Donald Grant.
You want to do the second one in one motion?
Second,
I also would like to add under, was it general board discussion you wanted that, Ruth?
Agent review.
Agent review,
review.
the discussion of 163 Rye Street.
Okay, is there a second to add both of those items to the agenda?
second,
All right, any further discussion?
Mhm.
All in favor?
aye,
Aye, okay. I heard everybody on that one. Moving on to approval of meeting minutes from April 7th of 2021. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of April 7th, 2021. And I do have one minor little diddly correction.
All right, is there a second?
Second?
All right, go ahead, Dick. What do you have for a correction?
Okay, on page 7, down near the bottom of the last paragraph, it's IBOE Craftsman Road. It's IBEW, International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. Not that it matters because we all know who it is, but 30 years ago, from now, when they read the minutes and we're not around, nobody's gonna know.
Yep.
Other than that, they're beautiful.
Okay, any other corrections?
Okay.
Hearing none, all of those in favor?
Aye.
aye,
Alan? Aye, okay. Peg, are you good with those?
Hmm.
Oh, Peg just went on mute. I'm assuming she's good. We have no new applications to be received. We had no public hearings, no continued public hearings. So on to new business of inland wetlands. Application 3-2021 for Noble Energy, Noble East Windsor LLC, 76 and 84 North Road and 7 Winkler Road. Construction of a 2,340 square foot car wash, associated parking, drives, and stormwater management system in the Upland Review area. Who do we have to represent that?
Rebecca, may I ask you a question first?
Sure.
Do we have Rick Osborne as a member tonight or not?
I do not see him, so no. Thanks, Peg. Hi, Jay.
For the record, J.R. Russo and Associates here representing Noble Energy with regard to the application on Winkler and North Road. And I guess, I don't know, I see if we can share the screen here and we'll put up a plan so I can point to something. So just bear with me here for a minute.
Yep, Jason may need to give you permissions if it doesn't go.
Yeah, he will. Right now, I'm disabled.
Jason, are you with us?
If he's not there, then I could go on the shared drive and pull something off for you, Jay.
Okay, I had a colored
I don't know if any
colored
of
plan, Ruth,
us-
but if you want
Oh.
to put up, I'm going to give you a sheet number. Hold on a sec.
Okay.
Why don't we go with the utility plan, which is sheet 7?
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Nope.
Uh-huh. Share the screen. Oh, host disabled participant screen sharing. All right, well, let me
I
text.
texted him.
Oh, okay. You beat me to it. All right.
We also have people in the waiting room. I'm just adding them in right now.
Hello?
I didn't realize that I had permission to do that. Is that Rick Osborne?
Yes.
Hi, Rick. Sorry, I didn't see that I was in charge of the waiting room.
Oh,
So does that mean you could give Jay permission?
I don't know the answer to that question yet. Hold on.
Okay.
If I, how do I do this? More? What do I have to do? Make him a host?
That should do it.
All right, Jay, try it now.
Success.
Yay.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that, guys.
Just have to make sure that we take the host away from him before he hangs up.
Okay. Can everybody see this?
Yes,
Yeah,
nice and
okay.
colorful.
Perfect. All righty. So let me see. We can blow it up just a little bit. All right, so here we go. North Road, you can see my pointer. He's here at the bottom of the screen. Over to the right is Winkler. The existing Noble gas station is right here. So what we're talking about is a new building, car wash building located further to the east, which is shown right here in this brown color. And in order to do this, we're actually, the owners of Noble Energy are purchasing 2 properties, additional properties from the estate of Bernie Lavoie. Bernie also owned the property where the current gas station is. So when this is hopefully all approved and we move forward, it'll create a parcel of about just under 5 acres, 4.8 acres, I think, in total. So again, the new gas station goes over here. There's an existing barn located here in the back that Bernie kind of ran his business out of, which is still there. And the wetland that's involved in this application is essentially a small pond that's located up here at the top of the page, or I'm going to say further to the south, I guess, if you will, from where we're located. And if you can see it, and let me try and make this just a little bit bigger. Here we go. So there's a wetland delineation line, and I'm kind of following it with my cursor right now, that comes around the side of the pond, comes back in, and then continues on its way to the east. And
Jay, could you orient me what's north?
North would be at the bottom of the page, looking towards North Road.
Okay,
Okay, so
So
we're on the south side of North Road here.
okay, yep, I gotcha.
Okay, so Kurt, if we're standing in the gas station and we're looking out at North Road, we're essentially looking north for the
Gotcha.
most part. So this small wetland area that's shown on the parcel actually is part of a fairly extensive wetland that continues on to the east and the south, and it's all within the, I guess, the watershed. And now I'm going to try to remember the name of the brook, and Rick Osborne is on, and I know he knows it, but I think it's Bowen's Brook. Bowen's Brook, which comes northerly and westerly. This portion actually that we're looking at here leaves this property and goes under a small culvert under Winkler Road over to the side where the trolley museum, and then continues in a northerly and westerly direction, and eventually gets under North Road, goes down behind the WB Mason's building and goes under Route 5 over near, and I can't remember the name of the store, but there's a large office building in Enfield, and then there's a retail store on the opposite side of the road. And it goes under the road
Coat
there.
factory. Used to
There
be
you
the
go.
coat factory.
Yep, the coat factory. And then goes under the highway and finds its way eventually down to the Connecticut River in Enfield. So it's a fairly extensive wetland that in fact watershed. It's part of the same watershed, the upper reaches of the Bowens Brook watershed. So this wetland area here that was delineated by John Ianni a number of years ago, when these parcels were subdivided, I think it goes back to 2014, was delineated. Location, and I think Ruth mentioned it in her memo. There's about 0.8 acres of activity that's going on in here within that 150-foot regulated area. And essentially that equates to the driveway or entrance into the car wash here, the very, very, very south end of the building, and then the actual water quality / detention basin that's located here. There's a little bit of widening of the gravel driveway here, a little turnaround that's added that also is part of that. So what really happens here when we're looking at the site itself, and let me just scale it back just a little bit. It's amazing. I didn't even know I had touchscreen on this until just a little bit ago when I was playing with it before we got on, but it's a wonderful thing. So we've got a small house that's located here now. So just to the left here in the driveway, this one has a hooded outlet on it, so an oil trap hood, and then down here to a manhole, and then into the forebay of the basin itself, across the forebay into the actual basin, and then the basin outlets through a structure here out to another structure existing on Winkler, and then a 15-inch pipe under Winkler, excuse me, that outlets on the other side, and again gets into that same Bowens Brook watershed. This is a new pipe, new crossing that was put in when the Noble gas station was built. So this is a fairly new 15-inch RCP and drainage structure here that we're tying into. So there's no actual wetland disturbance here, but activity again in the wetland upland review area, your 150-foot upland review, which obviously requires a permit from you. We did have some comments from the town engineer, Len Norton. Those were addressed, and I think you have a memo to that effect indicating that my partner, Tim Kuhn, did go through those with Len and address those, sent a memo, and I think Len sent a follow-up memo to you. And you also, I'm sure that you've seen, you have a memo from Ruth as well with regard to this application. So that's a basic overview of what we're looking for here. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Jay, one probably obvious question that I know oops.
Kurt, you just muted yourself.
All right. I assume the elevation
basin with a water quality volume. This will have water in it all the time. It's also got wetland plantings in it to uptake any of the nutrients. And then our outlet is at 94 as well. So as I said, the bottom's at 91 and this is at 94. But to answer your question here now, I've got it a little bit larger, Kurt. You can see 100 contour, 98, 96. So this currently drains all towards the pond, towards the wetland, and we're not proposing to change any of that in this given area here. The area down here where we're actually developing will be picked up in the actual drainage. There's no, I guess it would be fair to say there's no developed runoff that's going to go into this wetland. The area of the development here where the paving is and the building is all piped directly into the actual basin and goes out this way. It doesn't go into the actual wetland. The contributing area to the wetland here will continue to go there, flows across the grass area that Bernie Lavoie actually had mowed all the time he was there. I don't know, maybe it hasn't been mowed in the last couple of years since Bernie's gotten up in age and since passed and he moved to Florida. But this area here is always maintained that as a lawn area and all flows into the wetland, and it'll continue to do that. We're not changing that.
So water that comes out of the car wash is supposedly going to go into the pipe and then into the pond. There's no water that's going to go off the concrete and circumvent the pipe and then go down into the wetland.
That's correct. The water surrounding the car wash area and the paving is all collected in the drainage system and is routed through the pond and out into the opposite direction. It does not go into the wetland.
And of course, the water that's in the car wash, that's all being captured and dealt with separately, correct?
The water in the goes through, I think there's 2 or 3 grit separators, an oil water separator, and then that goes into the sanitary sewer system. The majority of the water, though, however, is recaptured and it's reused. And I don't know the exact amounts, to be honest, but I want to say it's somewhere around 80% of the water that's used in the car wash is recycled. If they were to discharge all that water into the sanitary sewer system, the expense to tie into the sewer would be phenomenal, and the expense of the water would be such that the car wash probably would be all the way up to the 100-year storm. So at any given time during a storm event, there will be no increase in peak flows leaving this site and going across the road into the Bowens Brook watershed. Without the basin,
that worked out all right? Did that
It
work
did.
out all right, the way it is?
yeah, it did.
No.
Actually, without the basin, there would be substantial increases, obviously, because
Right,
of the
right.
increase in impervious coverage. So
Yeah.
it couldn't be done without a basin.
Yeah.
The basin is.
Because
a
I don't
must.
know how well the state maintains their culverts under North Road. You know, they don't do a very good job. Thank you.
Sticking with that detention basin a little bit, the drainage stormwater calculations for like the 100-year storm and all that, they're based on the water coming from the pipe that's being collected on the site. Do they also take into account any runoff that's coming from the ground around that? basins?
Yeah, they do. We look at all the contributing drainage areas, and what we look at is the pre-construction scenario. In other words, how much water is being contributed to that particular area. And what we're talking about here is this discharge, how much water is going there pre-construction, and then how much is going there post-construction when we add the additional impervious coverage. So in other words, I think what you're asking, Alan, is do we take into consideration this area that already goes there? And the answer is yes,
Okay.
we do. We look at that because we know we're adding water, and obviously that's the reason for the detention basin. We want to make sure when we're done and we do add this water that we are detaining it enough so that we don't increase any of the peak flows.
All right.
Is there
Um,
any maintenance on the detention pond?
There is maintenance, and I'm going to be honest, I didn't read it, but typically we would put a maintenance schedule on our S&E sheet. I believe it's there. If it isn't, it would be added. And yes, there is maintenance required.
Right.
The basin or the forebay does need to be cleaned. It will accumulate some settlement over time, and it needs to be cleaned out. The basin itself, hopefully not so much. The one thing that it does require is, and I'm sure we've all seen them over the years in different locations, is if you don't at least mow it to a certain degree, you end up getting some very large, sometimes woody vegetation. You'll even get trees to start to grow in here, and you don't want that. That's a problem. So it does require some maintenance. It's not something that you're going to build and walk away from and think that it's going to work fine for the next 50 years, because it's not. It would eventually
Right.
fill back in with trees and shrubbery and
Question on that.
Go ahead, Dick.
So since you brought up the maintenance schedule and that, is plans going to be good enough to cover us in the future, or should we make condition 15 as make that a requirement? If it's good with the plans, I'm fine with it.
I say it's good in the plan. It's all detailed in there.
Good by me. And the other comment about the flooding around there is I was very skeptical when they approved the gas station, and I really was wondering, and you know what, there's been no problem whatsoever. It's exactly the way the picture shows it. So I think this should darn well work.
I
And
agree.
they're going to fix the roads. Huh? I read that somewhere.
The first thing they better do is lower the pipes under North Road, and that would eliminate the whole problem.
Dick, when did the gas station go in?
What was that, 4 or 5 years ago? Not that long ago.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I-
it missed the big floods from the Hurricane Sandy and from Irene and all those big storms.
Well, nothing's gonna work then anyway.
All right. I don't have all of my questions. All of my questions have been answered. So I'll open it up once more if there's any other questions. If not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
No questions? Okay, well, give you this nice long, thank you, Ruth Ann. Motion, I make a motion to approve application IWWA 03-2021 to Noble Energy, Noble East Windsor LLC for the construction of 2,340 square foot car wash, associated parking, drives, and stormwater management systems in Upland Review area to be located at 76 and 84 North Road and 7 Winkler Road, Assessors Map 113, Block 002 and Lot 002-1 and 003, as detailed on site plans entitled Noble Energy Car Wash Expansion 7, 6, and 8, 4 North Road, and 7 Winkler Road, East Windsor, Connecticut, 06088, map 113, block 24, lots 002, 002-1, 003, zoning B3, prepared by J.R. Russo and Associates LLC, sheet 1 through 11, dated 4/05/2021, last revised 4-282021, with the standard 14 conditions.
Second,
I'll
True thing.
second that.
All right, I heard Alan first for the second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all of those in favor?
Aye.
Alan
sorry, yeah.
and Rick?
Yep.
Okay, cool. I heard everybody as a yes. Okay, so that one is good. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you very much.
And Jay, you said you're doing the next one on Wells Road too?
Correct.
Okay, so for next order of business is a new application for new business. 4-2021 TM LLC and Anthony A. Della Ripa, west side of Wells Road, 900 feet south of North Road, construction of a 5 single family houses, driveway and utilities in the Upland Review area. Jay, you're welcome to share your screen again for this one as well.
Let me see here. Just bear with me for a second. I've got to find a different plan here. Let's see. There we go. I've got to find you again. I've lost the meeting. Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, we can still hear you.
You can hear me?
I hear you.
That's good.
And we can see you.
And you can see me?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah.
We've seen you in the last hearing.
Okay, here we go. All right, maybe we're getting somewhere here. My computer skills are very limited, and my assistant, my youngest son, who was always helpful to me, decided to move.
Gary.
So I'm really at a loss here. My wife is as
dare
old as
him.
I am, and she's not a lot of help.
I wonder why he decided to move.
I guess at 27 or whatever, he just decided it was time. So,
All right,
at
we
any
are
rate.
seeing your screen.
all right. So can you see this? All right.
Yep.
Let me. Okay. So this is the Wells Road project. And if we look just to the right side of this, this is Wells Road. Just to the south, where my cursor is now, is the airport property, Skylark Airport. To the north is the Walter Bass property, and a little bit further to the north, we'd be right back out to North Road. This property in total is about 47 acres. It's fairly large, but there is substantial wetlands. Ruth and I had a conversation this morning. We originally had submitted a plan with 5 lots. We've changed that. We now have 4 lots, and essentially what was lots 1 and 2 is now lot 1. They were combined so that we conformed with the zoning regulations in terms of buildable area or lot area. So it's a little bit different than what you may have looked at in your packets a while back. So before I go into any detail here, I wanted to share something else with you that I thought was a little interesting here. And after walking around on this property, good part of the fall and multiple times through the winter, I started looking at it thinking that, how did it get like this? And it's because it's kind of it's really it's an odd configuration, and I can't make it any smaller in terms of some zigzaggy property lines and so forth. And I've got another picture here that, let me see if we can take a look at this, if I can share this one with you. Can anybody see that? No. Okay, new share.
Yeah, you may have only shared in an app.
How's
Okay,
that?
there we go.
Can you see this? Okay.
Yep, we can see the image.
All right, so this is a 1951 aerial photo that I got off a Yukon website. And up here to the north, this is North Road. This is the Bass Farm here, which is now probably about where the bus yard is, or somewhere in that general neighborhood. Right here, if you can see my cursor, that's Mullen Road.
Yep.
And when we come further to the east on North Road, here's Wells. And then Rollicut peels off over here. And then Wells continues southerly. Our northerly property line starts right here where my cursor is and runs in a westerly direction. And here's those zigzaggy lines I was telling you about. Comes here, then turns, and then goes like this, and then comes here and then turns again. This little line that you can see right here that looks like a kind of a scar. If you project that out, it comes right over here to Mullen Road. And that's the old gas pipeline, the fuel line that runs all the way through town, actually, from the South Windsor side all the way into Enfield. It's inactive, but it's been there a long, long time. It's not as visible if you go out there now. We had a hard time finding it, but there's a marker post here, and there's another one back on Winkler Road. But the interesting thing is that the part of the property that's in agriculture back in 51 is essentially the part that we're developing now. This area here is the large upland area that comprises 3 of the lots. And the area over here, again, this is the north property line. This was all in agriculture here. And I think there's some buildings here, although it's hard to tell in the photo. You can see there's a barn here. And I think there were some buildings here. And the road, which shows on our plan as a wood road, is still here, came through, ran along the edge of the field, cuts through the woods, and goes over into Walter Bass's property over here. So if you were to go out here today, this is now, it's all woods. There's no more farm fields left. There's some evidence of a field here, but this is all wooded. But it was farmed back in the 50s. The Yukon map goes back to 34, and it was similar then. This looks like a tobacco barn. But just to show you, the area we're developing is the area that you farmed. And it's kind of the way it is on most properties in every town in the valley and in New England. If it was farmable land, typically it was an upland. If it was so bad that they couldn't farm it, it was something that you're probably not going to build on today. So let me click out of this one.
Bass didn't own that? Bass never owned that?
He did own it at one point in time, and,
Right.
and he sold it to this individual, I'm going to say back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And when I
Yeah, I
first
thought
met,
it was either a hayfield or a tobacco field. One or the other.
you know, one of the interesting things is when you look at, and which I have in the office, and maybe some of you have seen, there's mapping for this fuel pipeline that goes back, I don't know if it's late 40s. I'm not sure exactly. I don't.
Yeah, I
the
remember when that
dates.
was put in. That's a fuel line that ran to Westover Field, I think.
It goes to Westover. You're right. That's
That
exactly
one
right.
does too?
Yes,
Along
Yeah,
the
that's the
railroad.
one that goes under Abbey Road.
it
Yep.
does. Yep, it goes all the
Right.
way up through. But one of the interesting things is when they mapped this, they showed all the individual property owners that they crossed because they had to get easements from them in order to do it. And they showed what the cover type was. And as they went through this particular area, they were calling out lightly wooded, cornfield, tobacco field. And you could when you look at the old 1934 aerial and you look at these, you could see it. And it's really got a lot of very useful information on it for the surveyor because they showed old fence lines and so forth. And this photo, and I'm going to scan out a little bit further. And it's kind of hard to see here, but where my cursor is right here is our southerly property line. This is the tobacco field that's adjacent to Father Melnick's house, which is like right here. And it's a ditch line. You know, this property's wet. There's a lot of wetlands. And what the farmers did is they dug these ditches along the property lines to try to drain them as best you could. And it's the same thing when we get up into here along our north line. There's a ditch line here. There's a ditch line here. This is a ditch. There's a ditch that comes through here. And they're all man-made dug ditches. There's, you know, a lot of the old farm fields, you had stone walls. There's some fences here. There's some remains of a fence line along here. There's no stones here. There's no stone walls. There's no rocks. So they didn't have stones to make stone walls, but they dug ditches along the property lines. And
Well, that was for drainage. They put
it was for drainage,
tiles.
exactly. And
Yeah.
it's pretty interesting to see,
And
but they
it's-
got it to where they could farm this particular area. So I thought it was important to show you that. I like to look at some of the old historical areas. They're kind of interesting. Probably a lot of people would think I'm a little screwy for doing it, but I could look at some of them for hours because I kind of enjoy it. But
You can also still see the existing driveway farm road that still goes into that property in
you can
new
see
imagery.
it goes all the way through, and you know, I wouldn't want to drive on it today after all the rain, but when we were working out here, it was still passable. Our guys drove all the way in into here someplace. You could still drive it.
Mhm.
And I don't know whether there was ever a house back here, or I'm not sure what it was. They're small buildings, whatever they are, and it's hard to see in these photographs, but and I would ask Rick, he might remember, but there certainly was a barn here. It looks like there might have been buildings here, and I think there's some buildings back here, but I don't know what they were. And we didn't see any evidence of them anymore either, but
Okay.
let me go back to the other screen now, if we can.
Yep, you'll just have to reshare.
This one. Okay. So now we're back to the plan again, and again, here's that north property line that we talked about with the zigzags. The wetland line is shown in blue here, and it kind of follows. This is that area where the field was that was not wooded back in 1931. And this area up here along the front was not wooded, although the area that they were farming came back quite a bit further. This area, which is now delineated by Rick Zulik, he's saying it's wet, although they were farming it. That barn was back in here somewhere. But what we're showing now essentially is this blue line as being the delineated wetland line by our soil scientist, and comes back here, continues upland here. There's a fairly good sized upland here, although it's isolated. It's cut off by a wetland here. You would have to cross to get over here. But so we're showing four new lots. There's sanitary sewers in Wells Road that were put in as part of the North Road Sewer Project. And prior to that, these properties would probably never be built. I don't think septic systems would have ever worked out here. There's standpipes in here. I don't know how long they've been there. I don't know who did them, that somebody did some septic testing years back. I know when we did the sewer here, when I was working with WPCA, you know, there's a water table out here. There's no question about it. And we're showing raised ranches on this lot, and this lot. Back here, where again, there was farming and looked like there might've been some buildings, there's a high spot. There's kind of a knob here. So this is a house that we have a full basement in, and be gravity right out into the manhole that's located here. So again, in this particular application, there's just under 3 acres in your upland review area of disturbance. There's no wetland disturbance at all. We're not crossing any wetlands. We're not going into any wetlands. But there is obviously activity in the upland review area. And what we tried to do was, we're showing a proposed tree line here. And this particular lot is the one that's got about 44,000 square feet of upland associated with the lot where the house is going. And we're trying to maintain a reasonably good sized yard. And this is something that, I'm not sure who was on the commission, but we talked about a lot back on Winkler Road when we were working with the lots just adjacent to the Trolley Museum. We've got lots on both sides there. And we were looking at, buildable area. We were looking at livability space. Is there enough room for a shed? Could they put in a pool? Could they do that? Could they do that? And we kind of use some of the same criteria here. I think we're trying to create at least a minimum 25-foot buffer between any clearing and any lawn areas. That's what I'm showing here. Down on these other lots, I probably got a little more, I think, in most areas, because there's a little bit more room. This one's one of the tighter ones. There's substantial more upland on these 3 lots here. But we're trying to create a reasonable amount of buffer area. Now these, again, there's no wetland disturbance, but this is a conceptual layout plan that we're showing you, excuse me, for a wetland permit area so we can go forward with planning and zoning. But it's likely that you're going to see all 4 of these back again when they come to an individual plot plan, because somebody's not going to build a rectangle. They're going to build a house that's probably going to look a little different. Maybe it's situated a little differently, and that would require coming back to this commission for a permit and a reapproval. But that's typical, and I expect that's probably going to happen here as well. But again, just to reiterate, there's no wetland disturbance, but with your 150-foot upland review area, it essentially encompasses all of the uplands on these properties, on these lots. So that's the reason that we're here before you with this particular application. So that's kind of a basic overview of what we're looking to do. If anybody has any questions, I'll try to answer them for you.
Hi, Jay. Just because I'm on some other committees, what would be the square footages of these houses?
What I'm showing on here, concept is on the raised ranch houses, is a footprint that's 50 by 26. And typically a raised ranch is cantilevered on the upper floor. So the upper floor would actually be 28 feet. So 50 by 28, you'd be looking at about 1,400 square feet. And then generally you've got about half of that in the lower level that's finished space that's not the garage. So you've got typically a family room on the lower level, a mechanical room, typically a half bath, and probably a laundry facility that would be located at the lower level. So if we added another 700, that would be living space. So you're about 2,100 square feet on the raised ranches. The other lot to the rear really could handle something fairly large. There's a lot of space here. And these could too, really, these other 2 lots. There's a lot of room here, but they still are going to have to be a raised ranch house because the property is very flat. There is a seasonal water table, and you wouldn't want to put a basement in the ground on any of these lots except this one here to the rear where we've got some elevation and we can get a gravity footing drain. These are going to be a slab on grade structure. They could be bigger. I mean, it could be a raised ranch where you have the whole 50 by 28 as living space with a garage to the side of that. I've seen raised ranches building that way. So then you'd be at in a house that could be 26, 2,700 square feet of living space up and down. But again, these are probably all going to be back to you with a plot plan with some type of a home design that's going to be a little different than what we're showing here conceptually.
With a high water table, any fertilizers that they use for the lawns and stuff like that, how would that affect water quality in East Windsor?
I don't think it would have any effect on water quality. These are on wells. We haven't gotten any comments back from any final comments back from the health department. I did see a memo that came through initially that indicated that there was no EDB in this area. So I don't see where there would be any issue with fertilizers or anything of that nature. Although that said, in the past, on, I don't know on single family developments, but on multifamily developments, this commission has instituted conditions where they would like to see different types of fertilizers used, organic type fertilizers, where you're not, using your standard, and I don't like to use names, but the Scott's product or whatever you might get at, Home Depot or Lowe's or something of that nature. That's something that could be done. But this is a very obviously large piece of land, and I don't see where small yard areas around 4 lots is really going to have a lot of effect on water quality. We'd be more concerned about overland runoff with fertilizers getting into a water course or a pond or a wetland. But in the area where these houses are, there really aren't any water courses per se.
So that would be written into their whatever association or agreement when they bought the house that they
Well,
wouldn't use
there wouldn't
fertilizers.
there wouldn't be any association here. This is not a condominium or a common interest community development, but that's where I've seen those types of conditions put before, would be on a multifamily or a common interest community. And I think Newberry Village, I think, may have had a condition similar to that in their approval.
But there's nothing in this plan that would require that.
No, I don't
No,
think
there's
we've
not.
done it on single families. There may be a couple of cases where that's happened, but I can't remember any.
Okay, thank you.
I got a comment on that one.
Go ahead, Dick.
On a single family house, I think we got to be very careful with this. We're going to create an enforcement nightmare. These are very substantially large lots in sandy soil on the top. Of course, the water table's shallow, but we need to watch out. We don't create a monster by trying to over-regulate something.
As long as you mentioned that about the sand, what's under the sand? It's mostly clay, isn't it? Under the soil?
Actually, we didn't do any test holes here, but when the sewer went in here, I don't know that we ever got into the clay. It was sandy all the way down with a water table. It got silty. And I think that was true on a lot of the stuff on North Road where you may have expected to get into clay. And we did in some areas, but for the most part, it was very sandy loams, sandy, silty loams to a really a very fine sandy silt. And we didn't hit a lot of clay, to be honest, but there is certainly a water table.
To be as wet as it is, it's got to be something to hold that water from going down.
There
If
is,
that
I'm
was on
sure-
the other side of the Scannick, it would be gone.
It would be. I think part of the reason here is the fact that it's also flat. There's no real hydraulic gradient to make it flow, so it just kind of floats up and down, if you will. It's a very flat area. There's not a lot of topography here, so the water doesn't move a whole lot.
Yeah.
Alan, did you have a comment?
I have one question on the house with the curtain drain. That's just drain into a lower area, right?
The discharge off to the side, and it'll eventually get into the wetland. And it's a footing drain. It would go around the foundation.
Right.
So it's really just intercepting groundwater to keep it out of the basement.
And they're all going to have grind pumps.
They'll all except lot one. One is gravity right into a manhole. The rest of them all have grinder pumps. Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, definitely a tricky area. I can just picture all the
sun picturing, you get this out here and you get somebody that parks their 40, 1970s Chevys pickups that they're gonna someday get around to fixing. How do we protect against, once this plan is all done and somebody actually builds it, and 5 years down the road, they don't make those little yellow circles 2 or 3 times the size. So they can add their this or their that or the other thing. I mean, I can picture somebody that's got, one of these lots, thinking, wow, this may be a good place for, I'm going to have a farm, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. So I just make that comment, but I'm a little confused as to what we're being asked to approve, because we don't have a drainage report. We don't really have an updated, a wetlands report. And as you say, we're not really, these aren't the houses, right? These are just a conceptual rectangle, what might happen. So I guess what we're approving the development with a permit, but not actually any of the building of any of the lots.
I suppose if you were to approve this the way it is, if somebody wanted to come in and build one of these exactly as it's shown on this plan, they could do that. If they come in with anything any different, which I think is more likely what's going to happen, it's going to require a permit from you and an application to you to do something that's a little different than what you've seen here. So, and that's typically what's happened in the past with any lot or subdivision that you may have done similar to this. I think the ones on Winkler Road were exactly the same as that. What we had shown on the ones on the side where Skylark is, I think did come back to you with a permit for an individual lot. And I think the ones that were done on the other side of the road did as well. And this is pretty much very similar, as you said, to that. You did require on the ones on the west side of Winkler Road, I think, posting of the wetland area, as you said, with your discs, and a notification that, it's a wetland area and they can't encroach into it. There may have been something put in the deed, which again could be a condition of approval, that when the parcels are sold, that the deeds would indicate that there are wetland soils on the lots, which are regulated by the commission. Any work within wetlands requires permits, or within the upland review area requires permits. Those are all things that could be put in place as conditions of approval and could be posted on deeds as the lots are sold. And I think you've done that in the past as well. These lots obviously are all wooded, so there's going to be substantial buffering that's already in place between any development and the existing wetlands that's there. I know in the past you've required buffer plantings, but I think this one's maybe a little bit different in the essentially it's already wooded now and buffered, I guess, if you will. Some of this is pretty thick.
Yeah, and that's my bigger concern would be, we've got a clearing for a reasonable yard, and and so we're looking at that, and we may be inclined to approve that, let's say, but then somebody comes along later and makes that cleared area 2 or 3 times bigger, not knowing that they, because these lots, they could be sold to 4 different people 2 different times by the time somebody starts building on them. So, they may not know what they can and cannot do. And I'm just a little bit nervous on this and this is what happened on Winkler Road as well. Is like, there was an original approval and then those lots were sold and there was different approvals. And I remember we originally had to, made us, I think it was a fence that was supposed to go in or something. And then by the time it got sold again and, another approval or whatever, we got missed. And then the neighbor we heard about that for about a year from the neighbor, maybe longer, so I just want to make sure we have all our ducks in a row, because this could end up that way. One lot is sold and maybe built on soon and the rest maybe not for a while. So my concern, I guess my only concern really is that we are being very clear with any potential future owner where buildable area is, knowing that we may approve these lots, and if somebody comes in and builds exactly what you've got on the paper, okay, well, they already have a permit. We'd have no further say. If they make a change, then we, may have something to say about it, with a new permit or something. Or it may be that these lots get sold, and don't get built, during the permit time, and those permits expire. So I think it's important to maybe not all the lots, but I'm looking at the one way in the back that it has the closest encroachment on the wetlands and some slope, that we consider an easement around that buildable area.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Alan. And I think what you did, and you mentioned it on one of the Winkler Road lots, at least one of them that I recall, was I think we did a rail, well, we did the discs certainly, but I think we did a rail fence along the area of the clearing, so that, when they get to that, it's like, okay, there's a fence here, we need to put this in, and that's the sign, will you stop here, you don't go any further. I don't remember which lot it was, but I'm pretty sure one of them had a fence to prohibit any further encroachment adjacent to or into the wetland itself. Some of those also had buffer plantings too, but I think in that particular case, some of those maybe not have been as heavily wooded as this is.
Yeah, I think those lots were close, a shared driveway. One had a shared driveway and whatnot. Yeah, I don't know how the rest of the commission feels, but I'm thinking that back lot, we ought to consider an easement on that buildable area. The other three, the one out front is easy to see. So if you're going down the road, you can see something's going on. And intervene before things get out of hand. I don't know about the other ones. They seem to be, there's the one most north there that's close, but it's flat. So I don't think
Yeah, it's a really flat area.
No, the only issue you have there is, hey, it's flat. I'm going to make a patch, right?
Yep.
That kind of thing. So I think, I don't know how we protect against that. The best way to protect against that, that will go with the lot that may not get built for 5-10 years,
Right.
I got a suggestion on this. We'll toss it around, throw it at the wall and see what would happen, because these lots are gigantic. You really can't make them fence the whole thing. The house just became a McMansion just for the fence, and you haven't even put the foundation. But what if we were to put our discs at the specified distance apart? I don't know what the standard is on that, within 200 feet of the structure or structures, so that the wetlands are all marked within 200 feet of the structures.
No, I think that the discs are the way to go, and then and certainly it needs to be a condition of any lot approval, and then. But I'm now where to put them. I guess I would defer to Jay. Do we put them on the? You guys have delineated a yard area that is not just make pretend. That's because of that's a buildable, mowable area. Would you say that's pretty much where those should go? Or close to that, a little further out from that? What do you think?
What I tried to do, as I said, is create an area around each one of these that I felt was reasonable in terms of usable, yard space. If you've got children and you want to go out and toss a ball around, or you've got room for a shed or an outbuilding of some sort. So, my suggestion would be that, if you were going to do discs, and as Dick mentioned, within 200 feet either side of where this, let's say this building envelope is that maybe we come inbound, if you will, into the upland from the actual wetland line, maybe 20 feet or something, and place the discs there. So there's a little bit of a buffer, if you will, between the actual wetland line and where we put the discs. So you would have a line of discs here, and then another line of discs here. And I would also suggest that you put something in the approval as a condition that these things are part of the deed when the lots are sold, so that the residents or future owner is clear that, you know, there are some restrictions here, and it's not like, oh, I've got 30 acres here, I'm going to go get 10 cows and 4 horses, and you've got 30 acres, but it's not about all usable space, and anything that you're going to do that differs from what's shown here is going to require them coming back, and that should also be one of the conditions in your approval, that any change or modification of this plan requires a new application back to the Wetland Commission for a permit for the construction of a home.
Wouldn't they have to have a conservation easement to do that?
Well, that's something that we talked about a lot, and we've talked about on many different areas, and certainly you could do that, but my opinion is kind of that the wetland is regulated anyway. The 150-foot buffer is regulated anyway, whether the conservation easement on it or not. You still have your regulations, and you still have the authority to enforce what goes on in a particular area. I don't know what Ruth's opinion is, but to me, I don't know that the conservation easement necessarily
No, but
helps
that
you.
they have to-
Does anything for
They
you.
have to watch this conservation, and I don't think, I'm not in favor of conservation easement, but if they buy that property and that lot is so big, that's their property. Once they get on it, they're gonna do what they wanna do. Regardless of the sticks, there's emblems on them. That's human nature. They're gonna want a horse, if they get enough acreage to have a horse, they're gonna have a horse.
Yeah, and I'm not against them having a horse, you know, if it works. I'm like looking to make sure that typically most people have no idea that there's an inland wetlands commission in the first place and what the rules are before they do something. I mean, it's not their fault, right? Like, so like we need something out there to remind them, something on their deed when they do their closing, that they're like, hey, whoa, what's this, lawyer? And he explains it to them. You know, so, you know, they have a little bit of a, you know, an inkling that if they're going to do something other than what was already planned, they're going to have to talk to somebody about it to, you know, and it's not a, no, you can't. It's a, well, here's how you can.
I could
Yeah, I think-
offer something, you know, just process-wise, administratively, anyone who wants to build a house and seeks a building permit is going to be directed to zoning. The re-subdivision approval will likely include, you need a zoning permit for each structure. And then it goes to zoning, and zoning is going to need to check for wetlands before they can either through the zoning issue that permit, or administratively even they'll need to check for wetlands. And everything goes in order. You know, the building department's not going to act until zoning has signed off, and zoning's not going to act until wetlands and health department and the town engineer sign off. So there are some built-in checks and balances to address this, because the first thing we're going to look for is the plot plan. Are
Sometimes
we
I wonder,
conforming with the approved subdivision of, you know, requirements?
Maybe we should put just a notice to be put on the deed for that, because we're using the whipping boy of the big lot in the back. And if you get into the detail maps, which I don't know if you guys have got them or not, but I do. And there's a one heck of a lot of upland area to the left of the yellow marks there, where somebody could go in there, put some horses, chickens, geese, whatever you want to do, and not be in the wetlands at all. There's a
Mhm.
huge area there, 3 or 4 times the size of what the house is going to be in the area that's in yellow. And they're not doing anything wrong if they do it. I hate to restrict people's right to use their property any more than we have to protect the true wetlands.
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm saying is I just want to make sure that, and I think that these suggestions were good, that we make the conditions specific. So, you know, because what my fear is like, oh, well, it's already got a wetlands permit, off we go. You know, sometimes you get on autopilot, it's been a while, we don't remember. So to have that as a condition, I think helps. And I think putting discs to remind the people once they're there that there's a couple areas here you got to watch out for. And like I said, you know, I don't have a problem. Somebody buys this and
for each dwelling when it's constructed.
Or both.
Mhm.
So I think right now, if I have everything correctly, we're up to 3 additional standard conditions. Is that right?
maybe.
Rebecca, can I mention one thing? Are any of these lots expandable to 4 acres?
What?
Are they expandable to 4 acres? In other words, could someone start a horse farm and get a break on their property taxes?
Oh, I don't know the answer to that question.
Actually, all the lots are larger than 4 acres. It's not all upland
6, 5.
area, but in terms of your zoning regulations, I think your zoning regulations define a farm as 3 acres or more. And then you get into your farm regs, which talk about animal units and how many acres you need to have X amount of animal units and how much pasture area you need and so forth. And I don't have all the specifics, but I think technically based on the current zoning regulation in East Windsor, these could all be considered agricultural or farm lots because they're all over 3 acres in size.
As long as it's suitable pasture land, right? If it's,
Yeah, I don't know what the rules and regulations are for any of that stuff, which
Mhm.
kind of doesn't necessarily pertain to this in terms of approving this application. But potentially down the road, if someone does come in to propose a farm stable or whatever the case may be.
Could someone log this, their property if it's a certain size and all that?
Properties could be logged, but again, that would require a permit from you because they would be working within a regulated area or within a wetland itself. And it's not uncommon. I'm sure you've seen many of them over the years in East Windsor, and I've seen many in other towns where a logger would come in and ask for a permit. And that gets back to your as of right uses in your regulations, because forestry is considered an agricultural use as of right. But it still requires a notification and a permit from the Wetland Commission.
Because anything that's, from what I understand, I could be wrong, anything that's agricultural, like you said, it can be logged and that sort of thing. So I don't know, as though someone puts in a horse farm. I know somebody in Coventry that just chopped down all the trees all around them, you know, and got machinery to pull out all the stumps, and you know, they lost all the trees to that property. So you're going to end up opening up a lot of space that may not, it'll change the character of the town.
Yeah, well, again, that would either fall under a violation if they don't ask us, or they'd have to come to us. So I think, as Ruth had mentioned, we have some of those standard checks and balances to make sure that things do go down the right path. So
Okay,
yeah.
I won't drag this out anymore.
Are there any other questions or comments? Do we have whoever is going to make the motion? I assume probably Dick, you're going to make the motion. Do you have the additional
Yep.
conditions that we want?
No, I don't. We need to very carefully wordsmith this.
Yes, we do.
Okay, we got condition number 15. Whatever it is.
So we definitely want to get it onto the deed, and I don't know the proper way of wording all of that. So Ruth, do you have any assistance in that one?
I unmuted, yeah.
Yep, we can hear you.
Wetlands, and any future activity will require Inland Wetlands and Watercourses agency approval.
Okay.
I gotta write that down. I'm not that fast. I got deed shall include note of wetlands on
A note.
property.
Yeah. A note that lots contain wetlands.
Jay, you've
Is they and or
probably
water
looked
course?
at a lot of deeds. Do you typically also put the notation of the discs, and I forget the name of them? Is that usually logged there too?
I don't know that I've ever seen that in a deed, but I think Ruth's comment with what they're going to see when they get a copy of that, when they purchase the property, and it's going to have all those conditions in it. So whatever you add as a condition of approval, I think that'll be on the Mylar. I think it's a good idea. It's something that most towns do. East Windsor started doing it when Mike D'Amato came on board. We've done it with the last few projects, and I think it's something that should be done. It lists everything that you folks are talking about right now, and that the approval memorandum is reproduced and goes right on the plan that's filed in the clerk's office, and the deed's going to refer to that plan, and they would get a copy of that at a closing.
So
Jay,
then
I'm sorry,
this
go
would
ahead.
be another condition then.
Yep, discs would be a condition,
Mhm.
which would have to be met, I would assume, prior to the issuance of a building permit or a certificate of occupancy for a house, so that it's all in place before somebody takes up residence and to live there.
So what's the best way to word that? So discs will be placed, I don't know, I mean, you had mentioned 20 feet. I don't know how that, if that's maybe, maybe 40 feet.
I think that my recommendation would be 20 feet inward into the upland from the actual wetland line. And I think maybe the right way to do it would be, and we can work on this plan, would actually be to show them on here. I can add them and we can show their locations. Maybe they're 50 feet apart or 40 feet apart, whatever you're comfortable with. And I can add those to this particular plan. And knowing that they might move a little bit if somebody comes in. And as we talked about, this lot here in the back, this is a large area. There's many, many acres of upland here. Maybe somebody wants to move the house back a little bit. Maybe they will pull it forward, which could happen. Maybe they don't want a driveway this long. It gets expensive. I put it here only because it's on this little knoll, this little high spot. But I think adding them right to the plan that you're going to approve, so that they're shown on the plan, they're mentioned in the memorandum as a condition of approval. So it's kind of a belt and suspenders approach as to being sure that whoever purchases one of these lots realizes that there's some restrictions in terms of what they're allowed to do out here. They can't just go willy-nilly and do whatever they want. They've got to come back before you with an application if they want to change something or move something or put in a larger house or move the house or add an outbuilding or clear some area for horses or some cows or chickens or whatever it might be.
Mhm.
Jay, this is zoned A1 or AR1?
This is A1.
Okay,
Okay, so we word that condition the best. We would say discs will be, warning of the wetland area will be shown on the plan. Do we want them for all the lots or?
I think just those main three, leave that front one be as is. Like Ruth said, I think it was Ruth that said this, that it's close enough to the road that you'll kind of notice if something is drastically off. But the other ones are kind of tucked back a little bit. So I would say maybe for those three.
That first one's the one that's the most, probably they got the smallest amount of upland area. It's probably the one that needs it most.
Yeah, maybe just do it for all, yeah.
Yeah, just do them for all of them then.
Okay,
That-
well, we still haven't got the first condition. We said deeds, but wouldn't Mylar be better? Mylar shall include notes of wetlands on property and any other activities will require permit from Inland Wetlands Authority.
Yep, it would say both
Real
the deed
simple.
and the Mylar.
Yeah, well, deed and what are we gonna do? Deed and Mylar.
Yeah,
Well, if it's
let's,
on the Mylar, it's gotta be on the deed, correct?
The deed would refer to the Mylar, but I don't think adding it as a notation within a deed. You know, typically when you get to the end of a deed and you're reading the descriptions, they would list any encumbrances, like if there were a drainage easement or a sewer easement or something of that nature, that could simply be a note that this parcel of land contains inland wetlands and inland wetland upland review area and regulated area. And activities within these areas require permitting from the town of East Windsor Inland Wetland Agency. Just a note that simple on a deed, you know, indicating that there are encumbrances on the property, I think is something that could be added fairly easily as a condition of approval, would show up here and could be added to the deed when the parcels are conveyed.
right. So we're covered on both sides of the deed and the Mylar.
I think so.
Okay.
All right, so that's the first one. The second one is the wet tags.
Improve wetland tags. Approve.
And I'll add those right to the plan.
Okay.
And then I can submit that to Ruth and she can review it. And if we want to tweak it a little bit, we can, as long as you're comfortable between her and I, that we can put something together that makes sense.
Yeah, I think as long as we all agree on the 20 feet and spacing it out kind of however 40, 50 feet again, assuming there probably will be some changes in the real world, but just to show something. So
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what you did over on Winkler Road, if I remember correctly.
and are they called wetland discs, just so we get the naming of them correct?
You have a disc. I don't honestly remember what it said. I think I have one in my office, on my desk, but I don't remember what they said.
All right, so we're gonna call those the wetland discs to
You're gonna
be,
call them discs or markers. Okay, your choice. Discers would be perfect.
perfect.
That explains it, you know, because see, you would go saying this to somebody and they're gonna think it's a wheelbarrow.
Yeah, okay, so disc markers,
Shall be installed before a CO is issued. Is that covered, or you want before construction starts, or during construction, or?
I would think you might want it prior to the start of construction.
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Gee. Yeah, that's actually good. That's pretty good. Now, the distance is 20 feet, maybe a lot in some areas, and you know, that fence that you talked about over on Winkler Road, I think that was a 10 off the wetlands flags.
And
Because you don't really want to restrict the people's property. You don't want the markers in the middle of their lawn, which is in the upland area. And certainly they have the right to do.
Yeah, just a reminder for them to say, hey, you're
Should we-
near wetlands.
Should we go with 10? And what do you say, 50 feet plus or minus on centers?
I think 20 is probably better, and because I don't see
Safer.
anywhere here where it's gonna be in their yard.
Yeah, but I can
Yeah, I
just
think-
see it, I can just see it sitting there in the middle of their lawn, you know, well, come on.
No, it's not. I don't think it is.
Well, maybe, I frankly think 10 is plenty. But
I think 20, and just for the area that it is with so much wetlands, I would say I would also go with the 20. And again, we're not restricting that. We're just letting them know that there's wetlands on your property. You're within that 20 feet. So I think it's fine.
looks like the consensus is 20.
Yes, and then I agree with your 50 feet plus or minus
Yeah.
sideways.
Yeah, you gotta give them a little room. I mean, if there's a big tree in the way, or, you don't want to do
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
I don't, do we even need those dimensions, or can we just give the instructions to the engineer to show them at that? I hate to put it on a conditional approval because you'll have one at 51 feet and they're not legal.
It's 51 plus or minus. That covers us.
50
I
feet.
think we're good. 20 and 50. Works.
So I think those were the only two. I know that you said that there was three, but I think in my head I had separated the first two out. So is there anything that we're missing?
I'm happy.
Oh, yeah, one thing we discussed and we didn't, you said there's wetland disc, which, okay, we're 20 feet by 50 feet on center, plus or minus. How far are we gonna go? I mean, there's a lot of wetlands, lineal footage there. We kind
I
of.
don't think we need to specify that.
We didn't specify, we probably should.
Well, I think I was just gonna leave it up to Jay, but I mean, we're only concerned where in between the yard and the wetlands, right? So for on the back lot, it would be on either side of the, I guess, I don't know if, it's a north and south side of the lot, right? And then
Here and
and the
down
same
here.
And it's only the north side of the lot on the middle lot, and it's only the south side of the lot on the bottom lot, and
Right.
the west side of the lot on the top lot, right? So
Yeah, I don't think we need to specify
I
that.
felt like Jay would figure that out.
That's why I gave you the 200-foot number for a kind of a maximum.
Maybe
Building.
as depicted on the approved plan or as depicted on the Mylar.
Yep, we could say that's gonna update that for us. Why don't you go with that one, Dick?
What's this? Okay,
As depicted on the Mylar. Because Jay
Okay.
will send us a revised one with those on there.
okay, here's what I got before. This is not the motion. Approved wetlands disc markers shall be installed prior to construction. And you wanted to put 20 feet. I'm writing it to 20 feet off
Okay.
wetlands, 50 feet.
I could share my screen. I've been typing, if that's helpful.
Oh, yeah, we don't need to
You're
see.
typing it too?
So,
Yeah, that's easier for
um,
me.
But I need control to be able to share my screen, so.
All right, hang on, let's see how I do this. So Jay, you are now the host. Can you give
the
Ruth
ball.
hosting?
Yeah, I didn't know I was the host.
Yeah, I had to make you the host to do to share your screen. So if you just go to one of our pictures, either myself or Ruth, probably Ruth, since she has everything typed up. And then you'll have a drop down to say make host.
Host, there you go.
All right, Ruth, try it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Say, share my screen. That's done. Can you see
All right.
it?
It's coming up.
All right.
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, so this is what I came up with.
Basically,
Dick, can you see it?
Yep.
yep.
I think
I-
it's the same. It might be a little bit out of,
If that's good enough for you guys,
Go with it, Dick.
okay, here we go. I would like to try anyway, make a motion to approve application IWWA number 04-2021 to TMLLC and Anthony A. Delineated for construction of, that would be 4 now, not 5, correct?
Correct.
Single-family houses, driveways and utilities up the review area on property located on the west side of Well Road, 900 feet south of North Road, Assessor's Map 125, Lot 24, Block 025, as detailed on site plan entitled 4-Lot Subdivision Wells Road, East Windsor, Connecticut, prepared for TMLLC and Anthony A. Delineated, and prepared by, you got it backwards, J.R.
Mhm.
Russo and Associates LLC, sheet 1 through 5, dated 4/5/21, with 14 standard conditions and incorporating comments of April 12th, 2021 memo from the town engineer and response from J.R. Russo and Associates dated April 29th, 2021. And additional requirement, number 15, wetland disc markers shall be installed 20 feet from the delineated wetland lines every 50 feet prior to start of construction as depicted on the Mylar. Number 16, Mylars and deeds shall include a note that the parcel contains regulated wetlands. Any activity within 150 feet of a wetlands boundary will require approval by the Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Agency.
Good job, Dick. Is there a
Actually, that's
second?
good. Those are good. Why don't you save those? Because I know we're gonna need them again in this town.
Yeah. Is there a second?
Second.
Alan seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all of those in favor?
Aye.
Alan?
Sorry, I keep forgetting. Aye.
Kurt? Kurt, do I hear you in there?
Me,
Rick, are you, what are you?
I'm gonna abstain because I don't have an up-to-date map and I don't have it, so I didn't get all the information.
I did
Okay,
say
and then-
aye.
Okay, thanks, Kurt. Yeah,
I'm gonna
and
abstain.
okay, that's fine, Rick. And then Jay, whenever, so hold on. So all of those in favor, we're all good. Rick abstains. All good. We're all on the same page on that one. So then, Jay, just send Ruth Ann the revisions to show those disc markers. You are muted, but I saw a head nod.
So he wasn't muted, but something else is going on.
I
with
say
his-
he wasn't muted, but now he is muted, but I saw a head shake, so I'm assuming all good.
Alright.
Yeah,
You're
we're
still
not hearing
muted.
you.
I'm not sure what's going on.
Can't read sign language? There's Al.
Okay. Revised plans will be submitted showing the disc markers. I'm
Perfect.
struggling here.
No worries. Thanks, Jay. All right. So that closes that one. So moving on to new business number
Thank you.
3, the as of right for the grants.
Okay. Don is here.
am.
Don, do you want to do a little explanation of the project you have coming?
Sure. You all can hear me all right?
Yes.
Don't look like Don to me. Hi, Phil.
We have a parcel of land that is bordered on the south side by Melrose Road, Route 140, on the west side by Broadbrook Road, Route 191. On the east, it's bordered by the railroad track, and to the north is Taylor Energy. And anybody who's driven by here probably is familiar that in the southwest corner of this lot is a low spot. And probably our best guess is about 150 years ago or so, they installed a concrete pipe to drain that low spot to make it suitable for agriculture. Oh, good. Ruth's putting up the site map and whatnot. No, there's a letter. So this pipe has failed a number of times over the last several years, and we've got 2 failures currently in it. Unfortunately, one of the things that causes the problem is the fact that we're by law taking water from Route 191 north of Melrose Road. The low spot is actually the intersection along the road, and as you travel north on Broadbrook Road, it climbs until up around the area of Taylor Energy. The water from the east of the crown of the road naturally runs down the road and then into our field. And the west side of the road, there's a culvert that it collects in a catch basin and then runs under the road, and the outlet is in the field right there where the arrow was, a little south of that. There you go. So that water has been for years eroding our field occasionally, saturating the ground until it runs to the low spot. And then once the low spot fills up enough, it runs through our pipe that comes out of the south end of the low spot and runs out in the southwesterly direction under the intersection. That red line that goes southwesterly goes under the intersection and then into the field that formerly was owned by James Hall, but my father owns that piece now as well. So anyway, part of the reason for the failure of the culvert is that we're accepting water from the state, and it's coming in fast and in big storms, and it creates hydraulic stress on the pipe in addition to the erosion. And we're getting a little concerned that if we've had failures in our field, we don't really want to think about what would happen if it fails under the road. I approached the Department of Transportation about this, talked with the District 1 drainage engineer, a woman, Monique Burns, and she was very understanding, but essentially after several discussions and a few visits, they basically said, there's nothing we can do for you. They offered to let us use their culvert at the intersection, but unfortunately their culverts are about 2 or 3 feet below the surface. Ours is about 12 feet below the road where it goes underneath. So I approached Natural Resources Conservation Service with the USDA, and they were very willing to help us out with this project. Their engineer, Michael Rosado, came up with plans that are part of this to essentially, within the low area, pull out the soil that is not suitable for infiltration and redistribute it up into the field, and put in a parabolic rock infiltration bed to get the water to soak in down into the sand underneath the soils there in the field. In addition to that, they're going to, as part of this, make repairs to our current pipe, where we do have a couple of damaged areas. The idea of this is going to be to leave the pipe there basically as an overflow should the infiltration bed become overwhelmed, but he assures me that that's probably not going to be likely if he's got it designed properly. So that sort of is in a nutshell what's going on. The state, you know, like I said, they were understanding, but nothing they came up with for a plan was really a viable option, and this seems like the best way to go. The field itself has had the development rights purchased on it, and as a part of that situation, we're required to seek their approval for any sort of a construction project on the farm, including something like this, and they have given us their approval to get this plan put into action as well. The NRCS will be overseeing the construction of this infiltration bed and the repairs to the pipe. And I almost forgot to mention that the other thing that's going to happen here is where the outlet is to the culvert that currently runs under Broadbrook Road. We're going to put in our own catch basin and a pipe to get that to stop eroding across the field. And south of that, where the berm on the east side of Broadbrook Road is compromised, and the water runs into the field there's another catch basin and pipe carrying the water under the field to the infiltration bed. We're not really going to affect the amount of land being cropped, except that there'll be a 10-foot grass buffer around the infiltration bed. What's there now is basically sumac, so that'll be an improvement if nothing else. So that, I guess, is it in a nutshell as far as I can tell you.
So this layer, this sheet, they added our overlay of wetland soils and the 150-foot buffer. I had kind of clicked on the photo provided to us of a 1934 view of the field. So this is where they're cleaning out down here. So they made it suitable, right, for agriculture. And
So what did you need from us? Just an approval for the, what are we, an as of right?
as of right,
Yes.
Yeah, I have zero issues or concerns with this. Does anybody else have any comments?
Good.
Continue to farm here, right? So
Absolutely.
I'm happy to hear that the other side is getting addressed. I've been watching that and feeling like it needs some attention for a while now.
Oh, here they are. I was looking for these here. Yeah. Just to get a sense of the area.
Yeah, I'm definitely familiar with that area too. So,
It's pretty obvious to see, so we didn't think we should proceed without having approvals. It's not the kind of thing you can.
yeah, we would
Sneak.
definitely notice that one.
It's
We
kind
all go
of,
by
it's kind
there.
of like that front
There it
lot
is.
you were talking about previously. If you drive by, you're gonna see it.
Yep.
I might catch you on that one, Don.
Yeah, you might.
Okay, what do we need? Just a motion to make
Well,
it
let me just, if I might, someone made a comment about noticing a problem with the washout on the, I assume you meant the hole that's on the west side of Broadbrook Road, south of Melrose Road.
Yep.
Yeah, that is where this pipe comes out, is in the low spot down there. Another part of this plan that I'm not mentioning now because we haven't done the engineering on it yet is we'd like to make improvements on the outlet side of our pipe as well. When I contacted Monique Burns, she and I kind of wandered around and looked at the state culverts, and they found out that they actually had no outflow from the 3 catch basins at the intersection. So I don't know if you guys know, they worked on that last fall, I think it was, and extended their pipe down alongside the street south of Melrose Road, west of Broadbrook Road. So their culvert now is an outlet within about 25 feet of our outlet pipe. And another culvert that actually drains my lawn across the street to that same location. And so I talked with this engineer from NRCS, and as kind of a phase 2 on this project, we'd like to make improvements over there because we're anticipating that if we get a big storm and all 3 of those pipes are coming out within that very small area, we may wind up with bigger problems than we want. So I'll probably be back to have the same sort of a presentation for you on how we're going to handle that outlet side of it. Hopefully in the fall, but the way things drag out sometimes, it wouldn't surprise me if it's a year from now.
Don, I have a very quick question because I'm not as familiar with the town as everybody else. I think we bought sweet corn from that property at one time. What are you farming now?
I'm raising hay. My wife and daughter have a herd of show goats. And I also work at the fertilizer company down on Chamberlain Road as a full-time endeavor. So right now, this field in question, we're actually renting to a farmer from East Long Meadow, Massachusetts, who's been raising pumpkins on this field the last few years. So we're kind of doing a combination of several different things.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions? Dick, did you have something?
Yeah, okay, Madam Chairman. Now, what do we need? A motion to have Ruth Ann handle this, or how formal do we need to get?
Finding of it is, it's an as of right determination. So I think we find that they have a right to do this in the context of their farming operation.
Okay, now how do you want to do it by the property owners or the name of the farm, or how do you want it to read? How is it addressed in Ruth Ann's paperwork? Since we don't have a hard copy here.
Oh,
I'm the farmer in question, so I suppose my name has to be on it, but my father is the property owner. So if you want to include all of it, as far as I'm concerned, that's fine.
Well, why don't
Yeah,
we
I
just
would
do-
either do that
Or how-
and or include the map block and lot. I can tell you what it is.
Okay, give me the map, pull up and lot.
135. Bear with me on the block. 43A001.
43A001.
And then lot 001A.
Okay, So I would like to make a motion. I hope I'm gonna do it right. And if I'm not, I'll never hear the end of it. Have a finding as of right for the Grant Farms, Phil, Don, Selma, the whole bunch, for a plan submitted by, what's the, who the USDA drew that up, Don?
Yeah, NRCS.
NRCS. There would be block 135, oh, wait a minute, no, it's 135.
Map 135.
Map 135, block 43A001, lot 001A. Did I get that for Fagan?
I'll
All
second.
right, is there a second?
I'll second.
Rick seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all of those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I heard everybody say aye. So you are good to go.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome.
Have a good night.
Yep, have a good night, guys.
Yes.
All right,
care,
moving on, we have nothing for old business, nothing for miscellaneous. So we have an agent review and discussion or decision for staff report on Sullivan Farm Road parcel for the first one.
That right there.
And Ruth, you're still sharing, so you might as well
Yeah,
keep going.
I'm gonna- Just gonna back out there. All right. So I don't know why it's doing that thing.
Oh, because of you, I think you've already probably downloaded it. It did that to me too.
All right. I'm not sure. Okay, right there. Oh, I did because I printed the cover.
There you go.
All right. Okay, at the last meeting, we talked about Sullivan Farm Road, AKA Quarry Meadows, and a couple of open water pond type areas that were present at one point in time and are no longer there. And I was asked to just write up some information on the parcel itself. And so I'm going to share with you what I have. And so looking through the assessor's property card, that property has been owned by the Kemet Development Corp. And variations thereof through time since 1968, as far back as I saw. We have a wetlands report on file from 2005 that confirms the only wetlands identified when that subdivision was approved was on lot 12, and it was a kettle. And I have some plans further down, the subdivision plans on this. And a high water table was noted. That subdivision got approved. I have our wetlands approval in here. And then I put some aerial photo history. I was trying to show that at the last meeting, but for some reason it glitched up. So fingers crossed for tonight. We did receive another communication. It's down in correspondence from the Deeks about our GIS layer showing the two ponds in question. And that's 2003. It appears to match up pretty good with that aerial. So as we scroll through, this is Quarry Meadows. These are the two water bodies that are on our GIS that are not physically present today. Google Earth, I could go as far back as 1990 with their history. So just as a point of reference, this boundary here is here, this tree line. That's 1990. Here comes 2003, and you can see this, the area has been cleared. I know we talked about the gravel operations. There's water here and here, which kind of match the base map. And then 2004, there's more earth moving, regrading activity. You can see a big difference here and here. That pond. 2006. We really can't see it over here. 2008. This looks like development is starting. 2008. The detention pond that's over in Ellington is up here. Here's that. That's 2010, 2012. 16, 18, and there's 2020, which looks as old as 1990. So that's kind of a historical look at that. This is the wetlands report. And it does say that, you know, at that point in time,
Yeah.
the only wetland, right? And there's the approval that was granted for the 48 lot, single family. That's the wetlands approval. This one I'm gonna have to scooch down in size. Hopefully I can navigate on this well. I put, gonna let my computer catch up with my mouse. Okay. Maybe I can do it this way. Did I say what sheet it's on?
Yeah, I was gonna ask which one is lot 12.
I know, I'm hoping I didn't like super scroll past. Yeah, there's the detention basin, so I did.
That's the left, right. So
Okay, I got a
9,
note.
10.
So here's, it's actually, all right, so I pointed out, here's the 150 foot
Oh,
review
yeah.
area line.
So go to
Right, so-
sheet 10, I think.
Where am I? I thought it was like one right after the other.
I would assume so too.
Sheet 10.
7, 8.
Sheet 10 will
It's just that
show you.
I'm having
Keep going down.
super mouse problems. My index finger is losing control.
There you go,
So it's on this
This
one
one?
coming up.
right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So on the bottom of
Okay,
lot
there
12.
it is, right there. Yep, I had a note in there.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it's right here, lot 12. If we I don't know if I have a good view of the whole. I don't think I have a good one. It is.
You can kind of see it in the imagery for,
Mhm.
I'm looking at 2019, that it definitely looks like a saturated lower area.
Yeah. Do you want me to go scroll back up there?
Doesn't matter.
Okay. Okay. So I guess my thoughts here are, there's a history, there was open water, there wasn't open water, you know, there was a lot of activity moving,
Mhm.
regrading and quarrying. The permit for this subdivision has expired, right? And we know that the property owner is seeking to develop that property. They've been trying to get text change to the zoning regulations, and speaking with Merrick, he knows full well he will be before the wetlands agency again.
Mhm.
He's got plans that he can move forward with, because he needs approval. And I think, you know, at that time, it would be wise to, you know, he knows he needs to have his wetlands delineated.
Yeah.
And so if, you know, it's been a decade,
Plus.
could be wetland soils there.
Yeah. I
If the
mean,
groundwater's that shallow and it's been, you know.
Yeah.
So.
I think in terms of a violation, I think it's safe to say that there is no violation. Things have changed over time and due to the nature of the activity that was occurring on the property. Things have changed, and as you said, they know that they have to come back for wetlands to do any for future development. So I don't have any concerns with it.
And I think that it's good to see all this, because it's really what somebody may consider a beautiful pond was actually just a drainage area for excavation,
Mhm.
during an excavation permit, you know? And I think it's kind of clear to see that. So, I mean, I don't know about anything else that happened, but from my point of view, I don't see where there's a violation here.
Yeah.
Okay, and then there's just, I have some thoughts about the GIS layer too while we're talking. I don't think it's the only place in town where you come up with wetlands. Like there are some developments, I don't know if it's
That layer's old.
roller cut, right? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you need a wetlands permit. You could put a new porch on, and then it's like, you out there and you know that that house has been there for 30 years and it's, you know, 2 feet in front of their house that they want to do something, right?
Yeah, we've brought that up with the state several times.
So, yeah, I just wondered if there was,
Yeah, you and I can talk offline
Okay.
about a separate thing for that.
okay, all right. But it's
So
not
do you
just
need
for
to
this.
get back to, oh goodness, the name is escaping me. Drake, I think is the last name, just to like let her know
Oh.
that we've reviewed this.
Yeah, I don't think they're on. They knew
I
we were
don't
gonna
think
have
they-
this agenda item on. And so they probably have seen this.
No, I don't see them on.
Okay. Yeah, I can circle back
Okay,
the consensus, you know. And that, you know, the property owner will be back before the commission, before any approvals for development go through.
yep. Okay, cool.
All right.
And he can walk us through this at that point in time too. I'm sure
Mhm.
he'll be happy to do that.
Yep.
So moving on to the next one, which is the new item, which is 163 Rye Street. I drive by there quite often, and I noticed that there is a detention pond out front, and they're building and doing work. So perfect. You went out and took pictures, Ruth.
I did. All right, so this lot, this is part of Kingshire subdivision. This is like the last remaining lot that was permitted before the town officially put on the land records that the subdivision had expired. I have spoken, Letourneau is the builder out there. He had trouble finding silt fence to protect this. And I think I must have, just want to see. Gotta move this. Oh, this is really hard to do with all this. I'm moving this over so I can open the plot plan for you so you can. It's been waiting for prime time all this time. All right. Here it is. So this is the detention basin that was approved as part of the development of Kingshire. And so now this is the lot being developed, and this is where silt fence ought to have been. The builder could not locate silt fence. When I called him Monday morning, he said he had a guy that found, one of his guys had found silt fence in Simsbury, and he was on his way to go get it. And so I haven't been back out there.
Yeah, I haven't driven by there.
I intended to when I left work today, but somehow I just went home.
Yeah, I mean, I drive by there quite often as well,
Yeah.
so I can keep my eye on
Yeah.
that to make sure it gets
No,
done. But if not, they
it's
could have
very
purchased hay
flat.
bales.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's, yeah, so there. The other thing I wanted to share, let me close this. That's the Mylar. Oh, with the wetland layer, just so you can get a sense of where he's at. He's right there.
Yeah, it's totally just a detention basin.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's interesting that that came up because I did notice that as well. And that detention basin was, sort of a poster child that I wanted to bring up, in discussing how we eventually get onto a schedule
Right.
of harassment.
Well, I will
Because
tell
it
you.
is an easement for the town of East Windsor. I noticed that on the plans.
The builder, without me even prompting him, when I called, he said that he had been in discussions with Len Norton already about doing some maintenance on that detention
good.
basin. So that's another thing too. If it's a detention basin in this area and they're going to go out and do some maintenance work on it, that's exempt, right? That's an exempt activity.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to.
Yeah, it's just, we approve all these, so many of these things that based on, it's got this super awesome engineered system that's going to take care of everything for us. And then they go to hell for years. So, I noticed I on my, I go for a run here and there, and in South Windsor, they have signs up at some of their detention basins that have had neglect for 20 years. So they've somehow figured out a way to, they're going to have a little project of going and cleaning up all their detention basins that are no longer quite functioning the way they should. Now, these are owned by the town, so I don't think we want to own any of these things, but we do need to be able to figure out a way to, and I know, Ruth, you're probably maxed out all the time, but we got to somehow figure out a way in the future where we can get on a schedule of at least reminding folks and really what we need to do is, it's all about the GIS, right? We need to be able to plot all these things on a GIS map and have a list, we need the data to make it easy, right? So it's just a matter of grabbing it and shipping off a letter and, that gets printed out automatically and,
Yes.
Yep, it is it's just the front load is the hurdle.
Right.
Work in progress.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, we can just continue to monitor it. And
Okay.
hopefully, Ruth, if you can just kind of keep following up with them to make sure that something gets put there.
Right. So, and just, I had initially thought maybe they needed an agent decision for it, but now that I've looked at it, I really don't think so. So I'm just not going to go down that path, but I will make sure that the silt fence is up and the maintenance, that we don't let go of that.
Yep. I'm happy with that.
Okay.
All right, let me get back to my agenda. So that was agent reviews. Moving on to the violations. Is there an update on the 8 Craftsman Road remediation?
Yes. Where are violations? Okay, so Craftsman Road. Let's see. So here's just to give you remember this erosion down at the pump station, Craftsman Road. So can I make that bigger? Okay,
wow.
so this is what it looks like today. Just wanted to share with you. And this was the plan, if you remember, the property owner who has given the town an easement hired the engineer to come up with the remedy, and then WPCA implemented.
Yep.
So that's what it looks like today.
Wow.
So
Pretty extensive.
I was wondering how they're going to handle it. They went downtown with it.
They went all out.
no, I think it's great because that was in tough shape over there.
Yeah,
So,
that was bad.
I was happy to see it.
Maybe a
Awesome.
overkill on that repair though. Wow.
Hey, it'll last.
That should last.
It'll last and it'll take a long time for it to be inundated with organic, like trees growing out of it and stuff like
Mhm.
that.
They keep
All right, cool.
trees out of it, it'll last.
All right, so we can close that one out and
Mhm.
resolve that issue. And then the 247 South Water Street.
Yep. I don't know which order I should go in, but I will give you, because there's just so much. There's a couple of issues. This 247 South Water Street is the outfall from 12th South Main Street development. They have an easement from Noreen Friedman.
And I think
Uh,
Noreen was on the call.
She was.
Yeah,
okay.
Noreen's still on the call.
Okay. So I had received a complaint about the outfall area, called Ugo Orsini, who works for Silverman. And he right away went out there and inspected and sent me some pictures, and was working on a remedy with J.R. Russo. And the remedy was going to require heavy equipment. What we saw out there initially, because there's a couple of things going on site, but I thought what they had for erosion control seemed to be functioning fairly, textbook. But then down below, this is the very tail end of the outfall, and the river is like right here.
Mhm.
This was an issue with groundwater seepage coming out from underneath the cement. So that was the big issue that started the whole conversation. And so I issued a notice of violation for this, really, honestly, to help facilitate them getting down there to put a remedy in place. Then we had the big snow/rain event, and it got people nervous, and we got another complaint because chocolate colored water was flying out of the pipe.
Yeah.
And what was in there. And so we met out on site. It was Ugo Orsini and like 3 representatives from Compass Construction who were working on the site, Len Norton and myself, and Jay Usure were out there. We discovered a second issue, and it had to do with this condominium complex. Their parking lot they had a little swale up here dumping stormwater, which probably worked just fine until this got cleared for development. And it really created this big same thing that was happening at 8 Craftsman Road.
Yep.
None of this was there at the time of our site visit, but this is the same day.
Okay.
These guys ran out and why can't I go? I know there's more than one picture.
Top
'cause
right.
I'm up here. They went to town over here. Oh, no. We don't want those on the home computer. Putting these in temporarily. And,
Yep.
I don't know if there's anything quite that much more, but you get the sense of what happened out there. So there are 2 issues. There's this overland erosion, and then there's the seepage coming out. What I had received just recently is what they intend to do to fix. No. Too big. But, okay, so this is that part that's eroding from the condo area.
Okay.
They want to put riprap in here and make kind of a swale into the plunge pool. This is the underground piping that comes in and spills into that scour hole. Right, so they want to do some riprap over here, and they understand that they may need to get an easement for that. Here is where they want to remedy the groundwater seepage. So they want to put down some fabric and riprap and make a a direct outfall down here to capture the groundwater, so it doesn't erode over here.
Okay.
So
So the groundwater is just
it,
pre-existing and it's underneath their scour hole.
yeah, yeah, an unanticipated glitch, right? So it's coming out from the side of the hill underneath the concrete.
And the chocolate colored water, what was the source of
That
that?
was, I think that was
Just
just the
construction.
velocity and the heavy rain. That was quite a storm.
Yeah, plus it was collecting all the runoff and stuff from the road, from all the construction with all the dirt.
Right, right. And
Yeah,
so,
it was a little concerned though, because I mean, it's supposed to be, you know, stuff on their side of the road that.
well, and yeah,
Yeah.
they did say, and it could be that some of that erosion that was happening down the side here was getting in as well. I mean, that whole bank, it's not stabilized yet, this whole bank, but the plunge pool itself was coffee colored, right? Not unlike the Scantic River on a rainy day. So, but it's an impressive velocity, you know, all that area coming down the slope and coming into this plunge pool. And one of the things that was beneficial for us, and particularly having Len out there, so there's the plunge pool, and then there's a lip area that the water flows over into, like a, you know, it's very Disney-ish down there, little cascading. That was not level. So they are going to do some repairs to that because the water was congregating to one side and going off, you know, in more volume than if it had the whole surface to run over. So it was good to see it working and see where it could be tweaked to work better. So, but this, you know, we're looking to get any feedback on this first cut of a plan that J.R. Russo has prepared.
Well, is their permit, their permit is still open, or their wetlands permit? We checked that?
The permit, this was the permit that we transferred to them.
Yeah,
Yeah, Sardelli.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
I think that still had a couple years left on it.
Mhm.
just make sure, I mean, because if it's open, then, you know, I think we can approve this change without any issues, but if it's not, then they
Okay.
need a wetland.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And I am so glad we actually went through the trouble of transferring that permit.
Yes.
You, one question on this. Didn't they start this thing late in the fall? Remember, I was harping on this, that we had to watch this site, particularly because of the steep slope and the terrace escarpment soil, and that it should be completely seeded by October 1st. I think they started this in October, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they had gotten
They
a
went
late
through the
start
whole
on it.
winter with this.
They definitely got a late start, and they are, you know,
Well,
super
now
committed
you
at this
see what I've
point.
been preaching about.
Yes.
This should have been done, this grass should have been on that before winter. I think you would have found a lot less problems if it had been. Maybe not because of the parking lot runoff, but
Mhm.
because the looks of these pictures, the grass is not even, it's starting to establish, but just starting.
Right.
And we need to watch this on these steep slopes. I
Agreed.
don't think we made it a condition of approval, though, that they couldn't do it after because that thing could have waited. Either that or get on it before the growing season ended. This is, I'm not thrilled about this.
Well, and if, you know, if you remember correctly, it was your suggestion that they took that this scour pad was actually concretized, that probably wouldn't have survived all this if it wasn't. So it was good on you for putting that in there.
Yeah, but still should have been done, Al, when the grass had a chance to grow and
agree.
establish.
I agree.
And we need to really watch this in the future, and just certain areas of town that it's really that steep and that fine of soils.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree on stuff like this, that, gets to a certain point in the year. If you don't make it by then, I don't care if it holds up your project. You're not doing it till next year.
They put a temporary, they could have put a temporary holding pond, a sorting basin for the winter and continue with their work. And done this in the spring when they should be doing it and seeding it, or done it in the fall early.
Yeah.
I mean, I like I said, I'm rather disturbed with this because I think we've been reasonably lenient on this board, and this is what we get.
We definitely need to follow up on this and keep after them.
Because we did do that on the gentleman down the street that's going to open a car dealership, where he does have a date that it has to be done between, because he's on a steep slope like
Yeah.
that too. And that one, we made a condition of approval.
Correct. And
And I think we should from now on.
Wilcox Construction has that project, and I talked to Jerry about that already.
Okay,
Yeah.
So Jerry will cooperate.
good to know.
Mhm.
Yep, so just give us an update on this for the next
Okay.
meeting.
Will do.
All right, moving on.
Just before we move off from that, I'm still concerned about why the water quality structures didn't work. I'm still not satisfied. I know why there was coffee colored water coming out of there. And it would concern me that if there was some infiltration along the pipeline,
Mhm.
that, if that was
Yeah.
why, then that problem's not getting solved.
I know that when we were, I don't remember who, whether it was Ugo or I don't remember who brought it up at the site visit, just that those initial storms like that and the new concrete can also wash out froth and siltation, not siltation, but suspended solids and such.
Yeah, I think with all the rain we've had, we might want to take a peek at that
Mhm.
this week.
Well,
Yep.
if you remember that storm that we had late in the fall, Al, that was absolutely
Yeah,
one of those 100-year type storms. And looks like a lot of this erosion, some of it's definitely from overland coming down the slope. I mean, I have a set of pictures. There's definitely they've got the wattles across it to protect it, but you can see where there's a lot of, and that would give you a pretty brown water, and it wouldn't take that much to do it. But you can see there's been a serious water flow overland.
Yeah, I'm always, when the engineers are, I think we have some good engineers presenting stuff to us, but I'm always a little skeptical, and I always like to go back and look and see after it's done, if it is actually working, and like they said it was going to. I actually, like Jay geeks out on maps, I geek out on detention basins.
Mhm. Okay, so I have just to check to see if the permit is still open and active, and we could modify it, or you could do that. And then I'll be out there to inspect it again to see
okay,
how it's looking down there.
sounds good. Moving on, there's no conferences, seminars, or trainings. Assuming that there's no correspondence, is that correct?
The only item I put in there, we had notification on a solar project in Ellington.
Oh, yeah, I saw that come through.
Right, you saw that? Don't know how much we need to discuss it, other than it's 30 acres of development over 160 acres.
Yeah.
Mhm.
More
6 megawatts.
farmland, more farmland ruined.
Yep, just the FYI on that one. That's
Mhm.
fine.
Yep. There we go. And then I incorporated the response, I don't need to look at that, to the correspondence from the Deeks. I think that's how you say their name. After the last meeting,
Oh, yep.
they had some more questions, and I incorporated that into my report, and I had told them that that's how I was going to address it. And so it was there a review done for the presence of wetlands, which we talked about. They're asking whether or not there was a review completed prior or after, you know. So 2005 is when our
Right.
records show. So there's a no, there wasn't a permit granted for the water coming and going. And then they talk about our GIS layer.
Yep.
So I think we addressed those in the staff report.
Okay. Let's see. And then lastly, we have general board discussion for our citation ordinance. And this is an opportunity for the public to provide any of their comments or feedback. I will open it up to the board first to look at what the attorney has provided with some of their comments. A lot of it is just grammar and simple stuff that we don't need to necessarily go over. But are there any other questions on that from the board?
I don't think they made any substantial changes.
No,
No, again, I think it's mainly just grammar and a couple of tweaks to sentences and whatnot. I think it reads nice. Okay, hearing nothing else, this is the opportunity for the public to provide any of their comments. Again, the
Hold on.
Board of Selectmen will also have theirs.
We're in general board discussion. I just wanted to bring something up.
Sure.
So I was approached via my selectman's account and a phone call actually from a person on Reservoir Road. And I think Ruth is now aware of this to her. They had a complaint of what they thought might be filling of wetlands and various other things that don't apply to wetlands, but some wetlands issues that they thought might be going on. So I had just said to call Ruth and, we'll take a look at it and, investigate. And even if it is agricultural, we'll, may have to do an as of right determination. I don't know exactly what all is going out there, and I will follow up because they've asked me to follow up with them. I think I got a second email from them saying that Ruth had been out and taken a look at it. And so I just wanted to let you know that, that's going on, and I'm not trying to cowboy up over there. And sent them right Ruth's way.
Thank you.
They have been at my door for a while. There's a lot going on over there with the perk tests and,
Okay.
evaluating the site for development. So that's an issue that I've been in contact with the people that are concerned about the fill. I am going out there tomorrow actually to take a look. I guess with all the rain and whatnot, there's piles of fill out there that some contain chunks of asphalt, some PVC, and the property owner is concerned about water pollution
Okay.
in relation to that.
Well, just keep us updated on that then.
I will. Yep.
Getting back to the ordinance, again, this is kind of our opportunity to please Dick to have the opportunity for the public to speak during a wetlands meeting for this, but the Board of Selectmen will be holding their public hearing on this ordinance as part of the process. Now that we got the feedback back from the attorney.
I thought we were gonna have a real public hearing where people can actually be there.
So that's going to be done through the Board of Selectmen. It's not in our process of doing it through the Wetlands Commission.
Okay,
And I have, just so you know, I've let Jason know that's how we want to do it if possible. So we're trying to hold out for that.
well, the way this state is finally loosening up, I would hope we're gonna come to our senses and start getting back towards some normalcy?
I think we are headed that way. So
Say in a couple months, I think.
Oh, God. Couple hours would be better, you
A
know.
months ago would have
Amen.
been nicer.
Hey, we need some
I mean, this stuff is getting old.
we need some more people to get vaccinated, Dick. Tell all your friends and family.
I already have. I got mine. You know what? It's gonna come to the point eventually, and this is off our subject, that if you don't want to get vaccinated, you're not gonna, and so be it. But, you know, we can't shut the whole country down because a few people don't want to get a vaccination,
You're right. You're right.
you know?
So,
Eventually, frankly, this is getting frustrating.
yeah. So,
The writing on this stuff is too small. I can't read most of it. That's why I'm a pain in the neck and I get a packet.
that's okay.
You know what?
They get new glasses.
Rick.
But you know, it's really just, it's, you know, you guys got to get this town headed back in the right direction.
Hey,
And it's got to come from you guys. It's got to come from our leadership. You, Al, one guy, you too.
You do it.
You're our leadership.
All right. So
Okay,
it is
enough said.
9:22. Is there there's no additional public other than Kathy on the phone at this point, to have any input on the ordinance? Otherwise, are there any other board comments, or are we good to have this be sent over to the Board of Selectmen as the final copy of the attorney's corrections to the document, for the Board of Selectmen to then move forward in their process?
I'm totally good with it.
Rick's good. Kurt, are you okay?
Yep.
Dick?
Don't matter.
All right, so then I say, Ruth Ann, if you could pass this along, the final document to the Board of Selectmen to move forward in the process, we are good.
Okay.
Okay, with that being done, is there any additional public participation? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Almost.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
9:23, Peg. All
Have a
right.
good evening, everybody.
Have a good night, guys. Thank
We're
you.
getting back to the old meetings again, hey.
Soon
Almost.
enough.
Almost.
That's it.
Come
Bye.
on, next month,
Bye.
we're gonna have a meeting at the town hall.
Yeah, I agree.
Second that, huh?
Third that one.
Okay.
You guys.